to Vilnius, being diverted to Minsk airport and being forced down, and then they take an opposition leader off the plane and arrest him. We're going to speak to Tom Tugendhat of the Foreign Affairs Committee in just a second, but this has got huge repercussions, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's international terrorism by a dictator in Belarus.
Yeah.
And the European Union, the UK, US, all nations which want to follow international law and have decent standards cannot let this go by. There's no economic or political sanction too great to impose on Belarus.
He's despotic. He's not a democrat. The last election he won was cooked. He cheated. He's been, what is he in power? 26 years? Yeah, I know. Amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing how he keeps winning those
president
elections.
President for life, isn't he?
He's Europe's last dictator.
Yeah, he is.
Let's talk to the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, as Bill promised, Tom Tugendhat. Very good morning to you. What did you make of what happened to this Ryanair flight? Belarus accused of hijacking it, engaging in an act of state terrorism by forcing it to make this emergency landing in Minsk. It was on its way to Vilnius. I think it was even closer to Vilnius than it was to Minsk when this bomb threat was made. And then, as it lands, they arrest this opposition blogger because he is critical of the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko.
Well, look, that's an act of state hijacking, an act of state terror. As I wrote alongside my colleagues, the chairs of the US Foreign Affairs Committee, Lithuanian, Irish, German, and indeed others, this is a very serious act because, of course, what it sets, the precedent it sets, is that any state, not just European ones, of course, can force a civilian aircraft to the ground in order to detain anybody they don't like on it. Now, I don't know what you've written about foreign countries at various points, but how do you fancy flying to South Africa? How do you fancy flying to Singapore over some of the jurisdictions that you'd have to cross if you know that your words could result in a life imprisonment or indeed the death penalty, as Mr. Pratasevich may be about to find? I mean, it's a deeply troubling act, and there's no question that this is an act of air piracy, a hijacking, and finished off with a kidnapping. It's absolutely outrageous.
But we have a situation where countries like Britain may raise their arms in horror and say all kinds of things, but is Lukashenko going to take any notice?
Well, I don't think there should be a but at the beginning of that sentence, because there are plenty of things we could do and we should have done already. The first thing we should have done is protect our own and other European citizens from the possibility of another threat like this, and close the airspace over Belarus, order all civilian aircraft neither to enter nor to leave. Now, that would mean that there were no flights in or out of Belarus, and we should ground the Belavia, their flag carrier airline, in order to make sure that that stops as well. But we really do need to protect our citizens. And let's not think that this is some sort of symbolic threat and that they wouldn't really shoot it down. Only a few years ago, in 2014, the Russian government shot down a Malaysian civilian aircraft over Ukraine, killing more than 200 Dutch citizens. Just imagine that, 200 dead Dutch citizens killed by the Russian government. This isn't an idle threat. They mean it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're quite apart from what happened to this individual. It must have been terrifying for the passengers on board.
Absolutely. And, you know, first of all, I mean, if you call a bomb hoax in an airport in the UK, you'll find yourself in prison very, very quickly. So for a state to call a bomb hoax on an aircraft, I mean, that's illegal, certainly under our laws and under many other countries' laws as well. And then to scramble a MiG fighter to force it to the ground. I mean, this is an act of piracy, the like of which we haven't seen in Europe for generations. It's absolutely appalling.
Absolutely right. Tom Tugendhat, thank you very much indeed for joining us from the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. Can you imagine that, being on a plane?
It is staggering.
With a MiG alongside you, being forced to the ground. You think, well, I don't know what the passengers were told.
Europe,
but
in Europe.
It's if he gets away with it, the state get away with it, it would be absolutely shocking.
No, sadly, I think he is such a mindset, he will try and tough it out. But that doesn't mean, as Tom Tugendhat was saying, you don't take measures and you make life very, very uncomfortable for him, the economy. Unfortunately, some innocent people will suffer from those sanctions too in Belarus, but you just cannot tolerate this behaviour.
Shocking.
You just cannot.
Incredible. All right, Kevin, Andrew, thank you very much indeed.